Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And today is a really exciting video. It's one that I look forward to all year, my top 25 albums of 2025. So, this is the big one where I go over what I think are the 25 best albums, or my 25 favorite anyway. And I'm going to also give you 8 honorable mentions. I'll put a link to this Spotify playlist as well in the video description, where you can actually listen to my top 150 or maybe even a little bit more, because it's hard to even narrow it down to 150. This year has been so great. I listened to over 400 albums, and everything in my top 150 is really strong, really excellent. Everything that I'm going to talk about in this video today has achieved my near masterpiece rating, and the top three I've given a full masterpiece rating. So let's quickly give these 8 honorable mentions. I'm not going to talk about these in detail. I'm just going to read them out, and then I'll talk about my top 25. So an honorable mention goes to Fractal Universe with The Great Filters, Lunar with Tempora Mutantur, Jonas Lindberg and the Other Side with Time Frames, The Reticent with Please, Shepherds of Cassini with In Thrall to Heresy, and Psychonaut with Worldmaker, the Callous Cowboys with I Don't Want to See You in Heaven, and Okrust with Waving at the Sky. So those are the 8 honorable mentions I'll talk about today. And let's jump in now to my top 25. At number 25, I've got Desiderium and their album In the Midst of May. Or sorry, their album Keys to the Palace. In the Midst of May is the song that I have on this playlist. So this is progressive melodic death metal. And look at this awesome album cover. It looks like kind of like a hobbit house or something, just a beautiful landscape. And this band is from the US. It's actually a one-man band with everything done by Alex Haddad. He does all the instruments, vocals, and production. And this is the first album by Desiderium that I've heard, but I binged their whole discography after hearing this. If you're a fan of Wilderun, Wintersun, Opeth, and Devin Townsend, definitely check this out. Big thanks to Rhyme Signatures for putting this on my radar. Rhyme Signatures has a great YouTube channel and similar taste in prog metal uh, to myself, so I get a lot of great recommendations from that Rhyme Signatures YouTube channel. And my favorite track currently is this one, In the Midst of May, the opening track. But really, every track on this album by Desiderium is amazing. The intro guitar riffs on Keys to the Palace Part 1 sound like they would be right at home in a Devin Townsend song. And this album has a great mix of harsh and clean vocals, great progressive melodic death metal, Desiderium, Keys to the Palace. Now at number 24, I've got Dance Gavin Dance with Pantheon. I'm kind of spoiling my own list by scrolling a little bit too far here, but Dance Gavin Dance, Pantheon, this is post-hardcore. It's got some progressive rock, math rock, experimental rock influences here. And my favorite track right now is Midnight at McGuffey's. And this is the 11th album by Dance Gavin Dance. They're an American band, and I really think all their albums are at least very good. Some of them are near masterpieces like this one, and they're just a band that I love. So I was looking forward to hearing this, and they've done it again. Another near masterpiece. They're a very consistent band. All of their albums have a similar vibe. They're all that fast guitar, post-hardcore vibe that they call swancore, and there might be a few other albums on my list in that vibe. Most of my list is progressive metal, some progressive rock, but there's a little bit of this style on here, which I like. And Yeah, they managed to keep being really entertaining within that style while they kind of stay in their sound and they're not deviating too much from it. They do some experimentation. They bring in influences more from like pop and almost like hip hop sometimes. This album has some more auto-tune parts than what they usually do, but they aren't using it as a crutch. They're using it more artistically and tastefully. Um, so I'm okay with them using it here. Although there was one moment I'm not sure about how they do it in the track called the Space Cow Initiation Ritual. The auto tune on that one was a bit too much for me, and the borderline hip hop moment and the lyrics where they say, "Hey, mother sucker, do you want a funk?" were a little bit cringeworthy. But the rest of the tracks on this album by Dance Gavin Dance were all good. Even the hook on that one song that I'm not as keen on is pretty good. And as usual, they do mostly clean vocals, but there are some harsh vocals here. The guitars are really the star of the show on this album, though. And I love Midnight at McGuffey's. That's my favorite track here, but I also love A Shoulder to Cry On. Lots of great stuff on this album, Pantheon by Dance Gavin Dance. So at number 23, I've got Hail the Sun with their album Cut, Turn, Fade Back. And this is the seventh album by this American band. And this is also post-hardcore. So I have two post-hardcore in a row, kind of that emo, screamo, but also with some progressive rock and math rock influences. And I saw Hail the Sun live with Between the Buried and Me. They put on an amazing show. They're really up there as one of the best post-hardcore and emo bands around right now. All the singles from this album are great. So I was really looking forward to this. I love all their albums. Hail the Sun does mostly clean vocals with catchy hooks in that high-pitched emo vocal style that I know can be a little grating for some people, myself included, sometimes. But the vocal performances are technically great, and they have some harsh vocals from time to time when they want to get heavy. And when they do, they can get heavy enough to start a mosh pit, but that's not really what Hail the Sun is all about. Their guitar playing, just like Dance Gavin Dance, is fast. The riffs can be intricate. They're approaching the greatness of some of my favorite post-hardcore bands like Chiodos and Eidola. I already think Hail the Sun is better, has surpassed Dance Gavin Dance for me at this style of fast guitar post-hardcore. And yeah, I think Hail the Sun and another band that I might talk about today, Greyhaven, they're both on course now to take the crowns for this post-hardcore style. If they can put out one or two more albums as great as this, they might be the kings of this style. Now let's go on to number 22. At number 22, I've got Astronoid and their album Star God. This one is different. It's progressive post-metal with shoegaze, progressive rock, black gaze, dream pop, synth pop, alternative metal, thrash metal, all put into a blender. And I really like this track, Third Shot. This is Astronoid's fourth album. They're an American band, and they have a really unique sound. They've got melodic vocals somewhere between dream pop and emo, but they have more of a progressive post-metal style of composition with some of that black gaze and thrash metal influence in there. And the third shot here was a single. It's just beautiful. My current favorite track on the album. The whole album, though, has great catchy vocal hooks with all clean vocals, great atmosphere and emotion, great guitar riffs, and even a bunch of killer guitar solos, too. There are also synthesizers on this album. There's moments that remind me of Devin Townsend, Deftones, and Def Heaven with their ability to combine big, chunky metal with atmospheric beauty. Some moments remind me of 80s pop, hard rock, and arena rock, and hair metal with the anthemic vocal lines, some flashy guitar solos. And some moments remind me of emo and pop punk bands like Blink-182 and Moneen. And there are moments where they keep it simple. They go slower with the 4/4 pop drum beats, but also moments of blast beats and moments of progressive drumming. It's a very unique, captivating sound, full of earworms, keeps making me want to listen again. So if that sounds good to you, definitely check out Star God by Astronoid. Now let's scroll up to my number 21 here. Number 21 is Legion with their album, The Ossuary Lens. Oh, so my favorite track on this one is Driftwood. This is technical melodic death metal with progressive influences, and this is their seventh album. So Allegion's an American band. I love all their albums. I really thought their last one, Damnum from 2022, was a near masterpiece, and I expected this to be really good as well and be a strong contender for my year-end list if it could be as good as their last album. And just as I was hoping, this is pretty much on par with their last album, which was amazing. And as expected, the guitar playing here is really amazing, really technical. The songs hit with intense brutality in the vocals. Check it out if you're a fan of the Black Dahlia Murder. But if you want to hear that sound, but an even better and more technical and more progressive version of that band, they're kind of going towards, they're like in between the Black Dahlia Murder and the towards the sound of the Faceless, because they also have some moments with keyboards and the clean vocal hooks, like on this track, the third track on the album, Driftwood. If that sounds good to you, check out Elysian and the Ossuary Lens, my number 21 album of 2025. Now at number 20, I've got No Spoon and their album Ozai. This is actually an EP, and it's the only EP that I have on this list, but it's so good, even though it's short and just an EP instead of a full-length album, it's so good it had to make my list. This is actually a re-recorded EP. It's progressive metal. It's more in that djent style of progressive metal, but mostly focused on clean vocals here. Check out this track, The Effervescent Power, for a preview here. No Spoon's an amazing American band, and this is a re-recording of their EP that they made in 2014, back when their band used to be called Ozai. I actually listened to the original EP as well, and I enjoyed that too. It's also excellent, but the performance and production capabilities have improved in this band since they made that one in 2014. So this new version from this year is even better. They made some changes. They swapped the order of the track list. They swapped Mecha and the Effervescent Power. Not sure why they changed the track order, but they also added a new song that wasn't on the 2014 EP right in the middle of the EP called Out with a Bang. So I have to put this 2025 version of this EP in my near masterpiece tier and put it on my list. If you're listening to this, if you're a fan of No Spoon's debut full-length album, don't expect this to be as good as their full-length album Opus, which that one's actually a true full masterpiece. I gave that my full masterpiece tier, I believe. But this is a really great prog metal snack, just a small snack, whereas Opus was like the full meal. And this one will hopefully just tide us over until their next full-length album, which I hope will be soon. And it's stylistically different from their debut full length. So it's not just more of the same. It features some harsh vocals, which they didn't use on their full length album, though the focus is still on the clean vocals. And every track is amazing. So check out the Ozai EP by No Spoon. Now let's jump on to number 19. I've got Eidola and their album Mend. This is the sixth album by this American band, and this is another one in that post-hardcore style. But this one, they lean more into pop. They still have some progressive rock, experimental rock, and progressive metal influences, but it's a little more chilled out than their earlier albums. And yeah, this is their sixth album. I love everything that Eidola has put out. And I think this might have actually been my number one most listened to song of the year, Kaleidoscope by Eidola on Spotify. Just a great song. And I was really excited for this album. Their last album was my favorite post-hardcore album of 2024. And this album, like I said, gets them closer to a pop music sound than they've ever gone before, but it still features their excellent musicianship with the great fast guitar parts, fast drum parts, but they also have those nice slow atmospheric moments and beautiful chords and voicings, beautiful catchy vocal melodies. Their guitars in their older music used to sound more like Protest the Hero guitar parts, but these ones now sound a bit more like Polyphia guitar parts. They're still intricate, but in a different way, using more chords than fast leads. And the clean vocals sound like they could be in big pop hits to me. They're really catchy, but when you hear the fast guitar and drum parts, it makes it clear that you're not listening to your typical radio pop. Then there are a few parts where the harsh vocals come in, and that makes it clear that you're not listening to radio pop as well. So, really great album. The opening track really gets you pumped up for the album. Brahmin, Garden of Eden seems like what they might play through the speakers before they step on stage for a live show. The second track, Prodigy, is insanely catchy. Renaissance is a beautiful piano ballad. And then Kaleidoscope is great. I love this fast 6/8 feel. I like the fast, clean guitars and great vocal melodies. So check out Mend by Eidola if you like post-hardcore. This should definitely be on your radar. At number 18, I've got Deftones with their album Private Music. Now, this one is awesome and it's alternative metal. They've got some of that shoegaze, post-rock, dream pop influences in here. And like every album I mentioned so far, it's in my near masterpiece tier. And I recommend checking out this track, My Mind is a Mountain. So this is Deftones' 10th album. They're an American band and another band where I love all their albums. They never missed for me. I was excited to hear this and they hit it out of the park again with another near masterpiece. Very similar in sound to all their other albums, but to me, that's not a bad thing because I love all their albums. I saw them live with System of a Down and Polyphia this year, which was awesome. And my favorite tracks, other than My Mind is a Mountain, which is a great opener. And my favorite are I Think About You All the Time, which is a beautiful, slower song. And I also love Ecdysis, Souvenir, and CXZ. So lots of awesome songs here. Private Music by Deftones at number 18. Let's jump over to number 17. I've got Byzantine with their album Harbingers. This is progressive groove metal with thrash metal and metalcore influences. Check out this track Irene here for a preview. And this is the seventh album by Byzantine. They're also an American band, and I love all their work so far. If you're a fan of Lamb of God, definitely check this out. But imagine if Lamb of God has had some more progressive rock influence, a little bit of like Meshuggah with the grooves brought in, but also even some non-metal influences. Still pretty firmly rooted in metal, but this keeps up that amazing quality from this band and is on the same level as their last three in a row that I think have all been near masterpieces. Byzantine just has a really strong discography. Even their two albums before their last three in a row were excellent, and their debut was very good for me, but just a bit rougher in production. But this one is a masterfully written, performed, and produced progressive groove metal album. And to me, it makes this band the kings of this subgenre of progressive groove metal, even though they're not as popular as they should be. I honestly hope this band gets a lot bigger. I was initially on the fence between excellent and near masterpiece rating for this, but every time I listen to Harbingers by Byzantine, I just I like it even more. So near masterpiece it is. And this track, Irene, is the closing track, and it's amazing. You know what I haven't been doing is keeping track of like their monthly listeners as we go. So you can kind of scroll down here in Spotify. So they've got 4,500 monthly listeners. I'd love to get them some more attention here. So hopefully, if you like the sounds of it, you will check out Harbingers by Byzantine. Hopefully, it won't add a lot of time to this video if I keep creeping their monthly listeners, and then you can all learn along with me how big some of these bands are. Some of them are on my list are pretty small, and some of them will be quite a bit bigger. But we'll have to see and play along. Now, at number 16, I've got, I think, a smaller one, a lesser known band here called Whippy Bonstock with Correct Irregulars. This is avant-garde experimental progressive rock with art rock, pop, math rock, indie rock, and electronic influences. So, first one on my list of top 25 so far to not have any metal or any post-hardcore influence whatsoever. This one's firmly in the progressive rock territory with pop and indie and electronic influences. And on Bandcamp, you can actually buy the digital download of this for a name your price. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, they've only got 357 monthly listeners. So this is a very small band in the grand scheme of things, one of the smaller bands on my list. And I'd love to get them some more attention because they are amazing. And this is actually their fourth album. And Whippy Bonstock is the solo project of the songwriter and composer Ben Conigliaro. I hope I said that name correctly. And this is his second album this year, so he's been busy. His first album was instrumental, but this one is the one I prefer. I love the instrumental one too. Um, and one of my next upcoming videos is going to be my favorite instrumental albums of 2025 because, spoiler alert, everything I'm going to talk about in this video has vocals. I prefer vocal albums, but I'm going to make a separate list for my favorite instrumental albums. So the other Whippy Bonstock album might feature on that list if you want a spoiler alert there. And this one has vocals that are, it has both male and female vocals. It's very quirky, very fun, very complex. If you're a fan of Bubble Math, Mr. Bungle, and King Crimson, definitely check it out. It's all over the place and complex like those, but it somehow manages to do that while being more accessible than all those other bands I mentioned overall. So pretty catchy, pretty cool, pretty quirky, fun stuff. Correct Irregulars by Whippy Bonstock. Check it out. Now at number 15, I've got Centuries of Decay and their album A Monument to Oblivion. So this one is atmospheric progressive technical death metal. And this is a band from Canada, and it's their second album, so I have to support my fellow Canadians. Always love supporting Canadian progressive music. And this is another one that I heard about from Rhyme Signatures. So thank you to you, Rhyme Signatures, for putting this on my radar. And hearing this made me go back and check out their debut. I hadn't heard their debut before, which I'm surprised because I live in Canada and I'm in really into the prog scene. So I know a lot of Canadian prog, but I guess I missed this one. And I also love their debut album, just a great band with a strong discography. Check it out if you love progressive technical death metal. Centuries of Decay, A Monument to Oblivion. Now at number 14, I've got Disona and their album Receptor. This one is symphonic progressive metal, and it is just really epic. This is their fourth album. Disown is an American band, and Not only is it just symphonic progressive metal, they've also got some djent, they got gothic metal influences, and I was honestly considering potentially putting this even higher on my list, but number 14 seemed like the right spot for it. This is very symphonic, very cinematic, very epic, very theatrical prog metal. It's got lots of groovy rhythms. One of the tracks on the album called Incisor had an interesting twist in it where it went into an EDM dance beat vibe for just under a minute. Then it went back to prog metal. Weaponize is my favorite track on the album. It's amazing. I love the rhythm. I love the intensity. Red Mist is the third last track on the album, and it has some harsh vocals. After almost the whole album to that point being entirely clean vocals with the odd harsh vocal here and there. So it's really a clean vocal focused album, but there are a couple of moments of harsh screams here. Here's another band that I'd love to get some more attention. Just 3,795 monthly listeners right now, but they deserve a lot more. They're really epic, really awesome. Disona Receptor, check it out. Now, at number 13, I have Greyhaven with their album Keep It Quiet. This is my favorite post-hardcore album of the year, coming in at my number 13 overall. As post-hardcore is not really my main genre, I focus more on prog metal and prog rock, but it's probably my third favorite genre, as you can see. And yeah, it's got post-hardcore, it's got some metalcore, mathcore, progressive rock, punk, alternative metal. And this is the fourth album by Greyhaven, and they're an American band. I thought their last EP, Stereo Grief from 2024, was excellent. Their last two full lengths, The Bright and Beautiful World from 2022 and Empty Black from 2018, were near masterpieces. And the singles from this one were amazing. Burn a Miracle, Cemetery Sun, and Where the Light Leaves Us. So I was really excited for this album. And all in all, I actually think this is Greyhaven's best album yet. Another near masterpiece. If you're a fan of bands like Every Time I Die, Eidola, Better Lovers, Hail the Sun, Dance Gavin Dance, Vanna, the Callous Dowboys, and the Dillinger Escape Plan, check it out. It sounds like a mix of those bands bringing in their post-hardcore, some southern vibes, and some of that mathcore. Yeah, another post-hardcore band with fast guitars, perfect mix of clean and harsh vocals, where the cleans have a really catchy, almost pop punk level catchiness, but the harsh vocals and the heavier parts are among the most mosh pit inducing vocals of the year. And the singles they chose are my favorite tracks on the album, currently with Cemetery Sun as my favorite, which closes the album. Burn a Miracle is the close second. And Will Putney, guitarist from Fit for an Autopsy and Better Lovers, he produces this album and his production's always great. He's produced albums for Every Time I Die and of course his own band Better Lovers, both of which I love. So definitely check this out if that sounds good to you. Keep It Quiet by Greyhaven. Now at number 12, I've got Jack the Joker and the Devil to Pay in the Backlands. This is progressive metal, and it's the third album by this Brazilian band, Jack the Joker. The vocals in this band sound like a mix of Toe Hider, Leprous, Good Tiger, and No Spoon. They're high pitched, they're well done. They have a lot of character, but they have a lot of variety and versatility. They can go low sometimes. It's almost all clean vocals, but there's also some screams, so they can do that as well. And the guitar parts on this album are sometimes genty, sometimes bouncy. Other times they can do shredding leads and solos. And the album ends with a 13-minute prog epic called Hope. Another video that I hope to do this year is my favorite prog epic tracks of the year, and that one may be a contender there as well. And yeah, I really love this song Denied and the epic Hope, but every song on this album by Jack the Joker is amazing. Check it out. The Devil to Pay in the Backlands by Jack the Joker. Great progressive metal. Let's jump over to number 11, which is Ginger and their album Duel. This is the fifth album by this Ukrainian band. And of course, they are progressive metalcore, gent with groove metal influences. And my favorite track on here is The Green Serpent. And yeah, there's great female vocals here by Tatiana Shmelyuk. She can scream like a beast and she can sing really well as well. Opening track, Tantrum, starts the album off intense and heavy with harsh vocals, but goes into clean, beautiful vocals near the end. Tumbleweed's a great song with mostly clean vocals as well. And Green Serpent is another great one that was released as a single. And it's really hard to pick a favorite track because they're just all such consistently amazing songs. And just like it's also hard to pick a favorite Ginger album for me because the last four, including this one, have all been neck and neck in my mind for which one's the best. Their debut album is even pretty good. It's not quite as strong in my opinion, but still a near masterpiece like everything they've done, and they're just a really consistent band ever since Tatiana joined. They do have some early EPs without her. Those aren't quite as strong, but all their work with Tatiana is just amazing. So check out Duel by Ginger if you like progressive metalcore and want to hear amazing female vocals in that style. Now let's jump over to the top 10. The competition's really heating up. At number 10, I've got Changeling and their album, self-titled album, Changeling. This is a debut album. So it's a very highly rated debut on my list. Another video that I want to make this year is what are my top debut albums. And this is progressive technical death metal with progressive rock, jazz fusion, and world music influences. This band, Changeling, is a German band, and it features Tom Goldschlager, also known as Fountainhead, who has a long career with over 100 releases to his name in various bands. And to quote their Bandcamp, this 60-minute opus transcends the ordinary, weaving together threads of progressive metal, death metal, jazz fusion, and world music, all beautifully orchestrated with the help of a 50-piece ensemble, a masterclass in musical alchemy. The album enlists an all-star lineup featuring ex-members of Obscura, Fear Factory, Alkaloid, and Vervum, underscoring Tom's global influence and collaborative spirit. So really great. And yeah, just there's many interesting instruments used on this album, like violins, viola, cello, piano, glockenspiel, horns, vibraphone, marimba, flutes, tuba, trumpet, trombone, bassoon, church organ, clarinet, oboe, upright bass, and more. All mixed in with your typical, guitar, bass, drums, vocals. And this is the best progressive death metal debut I've heard since Pleroma by Orgon, which I know was only last year, 2024 in June, but that album was also amazing, Pleroma by Orgon. So I'm shouting that out again. But this is even rivaling that one as the best prog death metal debut of the last few years. So check it out if you're a fan of Oregon, Alkaloid, Obscura, Cynic, and The Faceless. It's like a great mix of all those bands, but they bring their own unique variety to progressive death metal. The guitar playing here is just amazing. The compositions are epic. They take you on a journey. The vocals are mostly intense, brutal growls, but they also have some clean vocal hooks as well as background harmony vocals in a choir. And the album ends with a prog epic track called Anathema that is almost 17 minutes long. This is really a must hear for progressive metal fans if you like harsh vocals, or even those who can tolerate harsh vocals and want to hear amazing music. If you can stomach it, this is something that you need to listen to. It's Changeling's self-titled debut album. Let's jump over to number 9, which is Ethmeb and their album Allo Babar et les Caramboleurs. A great French band, and this is their second album. It's avant-garde progressive death metal. They've got power metal and symphonic metal influences with those neoclassical flourishes. And it's just a very wacky band, Ethmeb. There's really not very many bands that sound like them. They're just crazy. Oh, I think I forgot to look at all the stats of how many listeners they have. And they don't have that many. They only have 245 monthly listeners. This band's amazing. Way too talented for that. They should have way more listeners here. Let's get them some more listeners. Hopefully with this video, someone will check them out. Yeah, they're very wacky. They're all over the place, mostly progressive death metal, but they break into parts that are electronic dance music, neoclassical shred guitar. They have some parts on here that bust out female vocals, like Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd. This is another one I think I heard about from Rhyme Signatures, so thank you for putting this on my radar. This is just really amazing stuff, and I love it. And I look forward to hearing what they do next and hope that they become more popular. So that's Ethmeb, Allo Babar et les Caramboleurs. And yes, the vocals are in French in this album, but it's mostly harsh vocals anyways. And I don't really follow the story. But the other cool thing about this one is it only has 3 tracks and their durations are 11, 11, 22, 22, and 33, 33. So very cool how they did that. I like the structure of that. At number 8, I've got Benthos with their album From Nothing. And this is the first one where I can maybe start showing my physical copies because I bought copies of my top 8, or maybe there's one that's missing that doesn't have a physical copy. But yeah, here it is. Got it on CD, Benthos, and their album Pure, or not Pure, that's the song. Their album is From Nothing. Just amazing. Progressive metalcore, kind of genty. It's got mathcore, post-hardcore, experimental influences. And this band is an Italian band, and this is their second album. It's my favorite album by an Italian artist this year. But the lyrics on this one are in English. And their debut album is also a near masterpiece. I think the early singles that they put out from this album, From Nothing, were probably the best set of early release singles I heard all year from any band. So I was really excited for this one. They put out Let Me Plunge, As a Cordyceps, Fossil, and Pure, really great singles. Check out this album if you're a fan of The Contortionist, The Dillinger Escape Plan, Tesseract, and Protest the Hero. And those are 4 of my all-time favorite bands. So of course I love this album. The clean vocals have that higher pitch, almost emo sound of Dan Tompkins and Ash O'Hara from Tesseract and Rhodey Walker from Protest the Hero. The harsh vocals have a mathcore chaos to them, reminiscent of Greg Puciato from the Dillinger Escape Plan. And the performances by the instrumentalists are just out of this world. Sick drum grooves and bass lines, amazing guitar work with great production, and most importantly, amazing compositions and vocal melodies. This album did not disappoint. They really outdid their debut album here, which was already a near masterpiece. This is their best work. And I was on the border with potentially giving this a full masterpiece rating, but I ended up just giving it a near masterpiece. But yeah, very close to a full masterpiece. Benthos From Nothing. At number 7, I've got Kardashev and their album Alunia. This one I also have a physical copy of here on CD. Really happy to have that. And this is atmospheric progressive death metal. And it's got deathcore, post-metal, shoegaze mixed into their sound. And this is their third album. Kardashev's an American band, And I thought their second album, Liminal Right from 2022, was excellent. I enjoyed the two singles I heard from this release, Illunia, ahead of time, which were Reunion and Seed of the Night. So check this album out if you like adventurous, cinematic, extreme metal music like an Abstract Illusion, Neobliviscaris, and Xanthocroid. If you want to hear that combined with deathcore intensity of bands like Lorna Shore, Fit for an Autopsy, and Whitechapel, but also with a lot of great clean vocal hooks too. So it's not all harsh vocals, though there is a bunch of that. The whole album is just an amazing journey from start to finish. It's even better than their last one for me, and it made me immediately go back and listen to all their previous EPs and their demo that I hadn't heard before this. Everything this band has done is great, but I think this is the best thing Kardashev has made for me. Now let's go to number six, which is Flummox and their album Southern Progress. Another one that I have a physical copy of here. Great album art with the possum on it and the tornado. Awesome stuff. So Flummox Southern Progress. This one is avant-garde progressive stoner doom metal with alternative, psychedelic, southern, and art rock influences. And another one that I considered giving my full masterpiece tier. Let's creep there. Monthly listeners. They've got 2,000, almost 2,900, so bigger than FMEB and Whippy Bondstock, but still a small band in the grand scheme of things that I'd like to see get some more exposure. And this is their fifth album, so they've been going for a little while. Their third and fourth albums for me are also near masterpieces. The three early singles I heard from Southern Progress were the title track, Siren Shock, and Executive Dysfunction. They're all really fun, wacky songs. The vocals on this album are led by Allison Blake Dellinger on lead vocals, but there are vocal contributions from Max Mowbray, who's also in Others by No One, another great band, Jesse Pock, and Chase McCutcheon. The vocals will be the sticking point for this band for most people, as they are very over the top. They're silly. They're a mix of harsh vocal screams, shouts, and clean singing. There's lots of shout singing that sounds a bit goofy, but I think they're really fun. And I'm going to quote their Bandcamp. This is their most obnoxious album yet. The Tennessee-based genre-fluid collective brings you Southern Progress, a satirical and scathing critique of Christian nationalism, fascism, and collective trauma, written by a band of queers living in the Bible Belt. So definitely listen to this if you're a fan of weirder and more eclectic stuff like Others by No One, Mr. Bungle, Primus, Between the Buried and Me, Native Construct, and Haken. Imagine those bands, but mixed with some Black Sabbath and doom metal style riffs, and occasionally mixed with black metal blast beats from time to time, and then even some throw in some circus music, southern rock, and bluegrass sounds. This album is an amazing journey to listen to, and my favorite track right now is Executive Dysfunction. But every track is great for me. Another one I was on the border of giving my full masterpiece rating to. It's just an awesome concept album. I think this is the best album that Flummox has ever made, and I've listened to it many times, but I still want to keep listening to it more. I want to follow the concept and the lyrics more closely. I mostly listen to music, and the music on this is great, but I'd love to immerse myself in the concept more. And I noticed in the track Coyote Gospel, there's a moment from 5:38 to 5:45 where the guitar plays the melody of Beethoven's Ode to Joy in the background, which I thought was a neat Easter egg. But I'm sure there's all sorts of other cool stuff and like repeating themes and things that I really want to dig into here in this album. Really awesome work by Flummox Southern Progress. Now, my number five is Ambrotype with The Color of Darkness, Volume 2. And this one is progressive metal with acoustic, experimental, death metal, progressive rock influences all mixed in. And this one I don't have a physical copy of because I don't think they've made physical copies of this, unfortunately. Or if they have, I should get my hands on this because this artwork's pretty cool. It's a kid with chains for arms and legs. And this album is Ambrotype's second album, and they're a band that started as a one-man band in 2013 with Adel Saflou from Syria. And he relocated to the Netherlands after fleeing from Syria because of the war. And in 2020, he got some band members to join him. The vocals on this album sounded very familiar to me because I realized it's because he does vocals on another album from this year that I love that just didn't quite make my list, but is also a near masterpiece. There's a Canadian band called Derev, Derev, and he did the vocals on their album as well. He kind of has this vocal sound that reminds me of Mumford and Sons with this kind of low pitch and rasp to it. It's very kind of folky and warm sounding. Uh, and in addition to mostly clean vocals, there's also the odd harsh death metal vocal on this from time to time. But it's really heavily focused on clean vocals and melody. The music on here reminds me a bit of Haken, Opeth, Steven Wilson, and Okrust. And those are all artists that I love. So it's no surprise that I love this one too. This third track, Smile Corrosion, is an over 16-minute prog epic, and the whole album is only 4 tracks long, but they're all over 8 minutes in length, and they're very dense and meaty tracks. There's a lot going on in them. And yeah, physical copies don't seem to exist, unfortunately, and if they did, I would definitely want one because this album is amazing. Ambrotype, The Colors of Darkness, Volume 2. Now let's move on to my number 4, which is going to be Dream Theater with Parasomnia. Now, this is one that I got on vinyl, and it's awesome, great artwork, and it's a concept album, really cool. And this is, of course, one of the bigger bands on my list. They've got 1.6 million monthly listeners. So I'm pretty sure they are the biggest that I've mentioned. You know what? Actually, forgot to check. Dance Gavin Dance might be a little bigger, but it's those two and Deftones. But yeah, those three are kind of the big names on my list. But yeah, Dream Theater, of course, they're the kind of band that popularized progressive metal. And my favorite track is Midnight Messiah, but I love all the tracks on this album. And this is their 16th album. They're an American band, and this is their first studio album in over 15 years to feature their original drummer, Mike Portnoy, since 2009's Black Clouds and Silver Linings. And I really enjoyed the 3 singles they released from this, but my favorite was Midnight Messiah. Night Terror was also pretty cool, and I heard some callbacks to other past Dream Theater songs in Midnight Messiah, which was cool. This album, while not Dream Theater's best, is still a near masterpiece, and I like it better than A View from the Top of the World. And Mike Mangini's drumming in Dream Theater while he was in the band before Mike Portnoy came back, he was also amazing, but there's just something iconic musical and almost melodic in Mike Portnoy's playing, and that just fits the band so well. So it's great to have him back. And I love the ballad on this album, Bend the Clock, which has a great guitar solo. It gives me goosebumps. And I like how they close the album out with an over 19-minute prog epic track called The Shadow Man Incident. Now, Dream Theater, they aren't pushing too many boundaries here on this one. I think they already pushed the boundaries and defined style and a genre of progressive metal in their early days, and you kind of get Dream Theater doing Dream Theater. They sound like Dream Theater. They're not exploring too much new territory for Dream Theater. But if you like Dream Theater music in general, you should like this because it's just another masterful execution of this style of prog metal from the legends themselves who popularized the genre. So check it out, Dream Theater Parasomnia. And that's the last of my near masterpieces. Now we're jumping into my three that I've given my masterpiece rating. And my number three is Jacob Roberge with The Passing, which I got a CD of here. And this is an amazing Canadian artist. And yeah, it's my favorite Canadian album of 2025. This is progressive rock. So it's another one on my list that's not really metal. There's a little bit of metal influence in there, but I'd say it firmly falls in the progressive rock category. It's all clean vocals, there are no screams. There's, maybe a couple chunky guitars, a couple fast, shreddy leads, but nothing that's really that metal. And this is his debut album, and he's young and hopefully has a lot of time to make other amazing masterpieces like this. And for this one, I'm going to give a shout out to Nathan on Shuffle for making me aware of this one. So wanted to shout out another great YouTube channel that wasn't just rhyme signatures. So I like to, follow a bunch of great YouTubers that talk about prog, like Rhyme Signatures, Nathan on Shuffle, Notes Reviews, and the Prog Corner are some of the big ones that give lots of great recommendations. Of course, Sea of Tranquility, and there's so many, too many to mention, but I get lots of great recommendations from them. I saw Nathan on Shuffle mention a single from this one on one of his new Music Weekly videos. So I checked out that single. I loved it. And this album is amazing. It ends with a 32-minute prog epic track called The Passing, which is just mind-blowing and amazing. And it's just wild that an artist can make something so good on his first album. And this epic of his, it is better than the epic from the Dream Theater album, The Shadow Man Incident. And that's saying a lot. Dream Theater is a band that's very experienced and very skilled at writing epics. And not only the epic on this album, but the whole album's amazing. There's moments that are more like singer-songwriter songs, but there's also moments of intense prog, sometimes venturing into almost metal, sometimes some guitar shredding. If you're a fan of Porcupine Tree, Riverside, Styx, Pink Floyd, Rush, Mike Oldfield, and Neil Morse, Transatlantic, and Dream Theater, definitely check it out. It's like a mix of those bands. And my favorite song so far, besides the Epic, which is my second favorite song then on the album is Garden of Souls. The vocals on this album are great from Jacob. Sometimes they remind me of the clean vocals of Daniel Tompkins from Tesseract. No screams or anything here. It's just all beautiful and melodic. Definitely check out The Passing by Jacob Roberge, a true masterpiece. My favorite debut album of the year. My number two album of 2025 is by an abstract illusion, and it's called The Sleeping City. And here's a physical copy of that, which I have on CD. And this one is atmospheric progressive death metal, another masterpiece tier album. This is their third album. They're a Swedish band, and I knew if this would be as good as their last two albums, it would be a strong contender to be among my top five albums of the year. And amazingly, they managed to hit it out of the park again, pretty much on par with their last album, which is also a masterpiece. So if you're a fan of Nail Obliviscaris, Kardashev, Persephone, Wilderun, Opeth, and Xanthocroid, you have to check this out. They're definitely getting some attention now. They've surpassed 40,000 monthly listeners, so it's great to see this band getting some recognition. I'd like to see them get even more, of course. And the opening track, Black Murmur, has vocals with more of a black metal feel to them. But the album features some guest musicians playing violins, playing cellos. Most of the vocals on this album are harsh, but there's some great clean vocal moments too. And the album has prominent use of synthesizers. Emmett is my favorite track, but really every track on this album, The Sleeping City by An Abstract Illusion, is amazing. Now it's time for the grand reveal, my number one album of the year. And if you know my musical taste, it probably won't be any surprise. It is Between the Buried and Me with The Blue Nowhere. With this album, they've cemented themselves as my favorite band, I think. And here's the CD copy here. And this is progressive metalcore with technical death metal influences and is another masterpiece. Check out this track, Absent Thereafter. It'll just blow your mind. This is Between the Buried and Me's 11th album. They're an American band and you know, they're magnum opus. They're album that I really love. My favorite of theirs is 2007's Colors. Um, but this is another one that's really up there in quality and every album by them is a masterpiece. Uh, except maybe their debut, they were still kind of finding their sound, but even that I'd call a near masterpiece. Now, they're just one of the most exciting and adventurous progressive metalcore bands. They've got the most impressive musicianship, compositions, and performances. They put on a great live show as well. I saw them on tour this year with Hail the Sun, and their last album, Colors 2, was my album of the year as well in 2021. And I knew if they could maintain that quality, they'd likely get my album of the year honor again, and they have done so. So the singles I heard before this album, they're all amazing. The whole album delivers. It's on par with Colors 2. Really hard for me to pick right now, which I like better between this and Colors 2. So I'll need some more listens here. But this is an easy album of the year for me, possibly in the running for album of the decade. They manage to blend genres so well. They're quirky, they're fun, they're unpredictable. They blend in genres like country, southern rock, blues, industrial pop, alternative, and even some radio rock sounds with their intensely heavy side that blends metalcore, death metal, and even some parts that are bordering on black metal. So it's great that they can have all these moments that are so catchy, so anthemic, and undeniably good for even non-metal listeners, but then also have some of the most extreme, brutal metal intensity in the same album. Great blend of clean and harsh vocals from Tommy as usual, amazing guitar from Paul, bass from Dan, and Blake is on fire on drums. And Dusty's departure from the band is a complete non-issue as far as the composition's concerned. They're still as strong as ever on composition without him, so still a great album. Masterpiece, favorite band, Blue Nowhere, Between the Buried and Me is my favorite album of 2025. So that's it for my list. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Share your list. I'd love to see what other people have been loving from this year. Maybe I'll find some that I haven't heard of yet. And take a look at the comment section where I'll post a link to this Spotify playlist where you can see my entire top 150 albums of 2025. Let's see how many songs I have in this playlist. I've actually got 158 because there are eight that I just couldn't take off to make a top 150. So you get 158 songs in this playlist, about 15 hours of music if you want to dive in. If you like my musical taste based on what you saw in this video, you'll probably find some other amazing stuff in here that you love, and almost assuredly you'd find something in here that you haven't heard yet, I would think, unless you're a music fiend like me that listens to everything. So yeah, definitely check this playlist out and definitely let me know what you think down in the comments, what are your favorites of the year. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop on when I post new videos. Like I said, I'm doing my year-end content run now, and this is, my big video that I've been looking forward to all year. I decided to put this out before my other ways of slicing and dicing my favorites of the year. I was thinking of doing it at the end, but honestly, a lot of people have just put out their lists already, so I kind of felt like I need to get mine out. And but after this, I'm going to follow this video up with some other ways of thinking about other favorite albums of the year lists. I'm going to talk about my favorite instrumental albums. I'm going to talk about my favorite post-hardcore albums, my favorite metalcore albums. So I'm going to do kind of videos by genre. I'm going to make a black metal list, and then I'm going to make probably like some stuff that focuses on rock and then just like general metal and maybe even a non-metal, non-rock, non-prog list. So some of the albums that I might have listened to in other genres like, ambient, jazz, classical, folk, pop, electronic, that kind of stuff. I don't listen to too much of that, but there is some stuff that I've heard that's pretty cool. I'll probably put out my favorite EPs list of 2025. So if you want to hear some shorter releases, I might even do a top live albums list. I don't usually listen to a lot of live albums, but this year I've been getting into some, so I might bone out my top progressive rock albums, of course, and my top debut albums and my top 25 prog epics. Now, if there are any other topics that I didn't mention there that you want to see me do a video on, like as a year-end wrap-up list, definitely let me know if you have topic ideas as well down in the comments. I'll entertain anything. No guarantees that I'll do it, but if you leave a comment with a suggestion on the video and I use your idea, I'll definitely give you some credit. So appreciate that. And that's all for this video. I know this is a long one, but this is, my favorite one to make and just a really epic video. So, that being said, that is it for this video. So, peace out and see you in the next one.